Hey guys, welcome back to FACEIT TV. I'm MVC, joined again by DDK, and now we've got a round 16 matchup again. It is going to be Ins versus Xron, or Xron, or Xron. Well, I think it's Xron, so we're going to go with that. But yeah, looks like we got the map pick DDK. It's going to be Cure in this best of one. Thoughts on this matchup going forward? I know the winner has to play Cypher in the quarterfinals, which is very daunting.
Well, so Xron is a guy that every time I see him on this map, he does like to use the rail in a plentiful amount. He rails a lot, and sometimes he hits a lot as well. So I feel like that is going to be the biggest issue for Ins, is if Xron's rail is really on. But I also feel like Ins is going to have the advantage here, because I feel like the way that he's going to be playing is going to be more consistent overall, and that is LG should also give him a bit of an advantage when we're looking at fights in the Mega and the Red area. But yeah, I'm only worried for Ins when it comes to the long range game or the cheeky rails, because that is a good way to build up momentum too. So you hit like 3 or 4 rails in a row, that gets you control. So it should be, I think, a tight match, but I'm giving Ins the edge here.
Yeah, I think Ins is always has the tighter games as well against the players that aim well, because Ins is a guy that likes to say, okay, I'm going to hit 40% lining gun today, and when he does hit it, he really does excel himself. But at the same time, I feel like when he plays people like Seven, people like Xron, like you said, with the railgun, and even players like Cypher, I mean, Cypher's, I guess, next level really, isn't it? It's not just about the aim with Cypher, but when you play the players with strong aims, Ins really has to sort of step out of his comfort zone. I kind of feel like he can't rely on just brute forcing people out of rooms with lightning gun and things of that nature. But should we let the players know we're ready to go?
Yeah, let's do that. I mean, this is a game that I think should be really fun. I'm looking forward to this one quite a lot. I want to see, because with Ins, he is a smart player. Like, he tries to be a smart player. He tries to make good decisions, and so this should be quite a cool match. Let's kick this one off with Ins, as he does get the red spawn then, and he heard his opponent over at the Mega site, grabbing that Mega and also the LG. He did miss out on the chance at a first rail, but there is the second one. He's going to miss that one too. So what this really means is that although he's going to be able to get the LG and he won't take any damage for it, he's not really going to be able to get onto his red position easily if Xron plays it right.
Yeah, currently got the lower ground position as well. We have seen players drop down directly into the lightning gun here, and In's going to play the smart move there and get the rocket out and just try and deal damage on the escape, narrowly missing the railgun. But he has a bit of time now before this Mega Health, and if he places, oh wow, that fluffs the rocket before going through the teleport. That could have worked out in his favour, but now jumping across is going to be difficult. He can just stick around and rail down, but he has to be careful that he doesn't take too much damage with his next major armors coming up soon. He wants red position here, Ins. And here comes the drop down now. Switch over to Xron, we'll see where he is, coming in from the distance with the railgun and lightning gun.
Ins is playing really well right now when it comes to how he's using the teleporters. If you want to just look at the first minute of this game, if you load up the demo later on, just watch how Ins uses the teleporters. He's able to give himself chances to deal damage just because he can escape with the teleporter, and he's able to keep the pressure up like that. And he's getting really low right now because Xron is really hitting his shots, and Ins maybe hasn't been collecting as much armor as he could have been. But I do really like how Ins has been playing this despite how weak of a position he's in currently.
Yeah, well, it's this weak position. We're going to have to see him try and hold on with 65 points of health. Railgun does 80 damage. I know I spend a lot of time on stats, guys. Please don't hate me over it, but there are some new players watching, I'm sure. Now he's above that threshold, 90 and 50, so he can at least survive a Railgun exchange. But again, he's not really going to be in a position to challenge for anything. He just wants at this point to get times on items. Red armor still is not been picked up. Let's switch over to Xron, see where he is at the moment. Currently picking that up. So again, back over to Ins as he tries to play this defensively.
Yeah, he's doing a good job so far, and oh, there comes Xron. So he hits the direct first, and he's able to pull out the LG. He does get a lot of damage, so he's got a choice here. Does he go aggressive, and he can try to put in some damage, and then put himself onto the next red, or does he play it passively? He looks like he goes aggressive. He does hit one rocket. That's going to tell him that he can get a bit cheeky on this next red, but he actually loses position out on it. I feel like he could have maybe stolen that away, and Xron is going to recover here pretty darn well, and Ins is his opportunity that he did have there, which he created, it's gone now, and he's got to realize that quickly and play it slower again.
He knows exactly where Xron is at the moment, just trying to evade, try and deal a bit of damage where possible. Currently with the weapon set he's got, it's going to be very difficult to really do anything. He's just going to have to try and hit the railguns at a distance. If Xron even wants to come in for the frag, he doesn't necessarily need to push through. As long as he keeps picking up these items, Xron, maybe dealing a bit of damage to Inns here or there, that's all that's really going to be needed. Inns tries to get the railgun as he comes across, not going to find it unfortunately, but a nice idea nonetheless. But in comes Xron with the lightning, and critical miss from Inns with the railgun. That would have given him a nice little advantage moving forward, but unfortunately he doesn't know the red time, so he won't be sticking around for that. Let's switch over to Xron for a little bit, DDK.
Yeah, Xron's in really good shape, and Inns is putting in those pressure rails. And rails like that, they don't really do a huge amount because it doesn't change the fact, it doesn't allow Inns to do anything different right now. It doesn't allow him to challenge for the red directly or any items directly or take any fights, but it does just keep the pressure up. And if you can hit those shots risk-free, then you do it. And he's going to be able to take away this yellow as well. So that was very well played by Inns there, how he managed to steal that yellow away. But he's just got to keep doing this, keep going for those yellows, those greens, the shards, and he can't really play for damage here. Damage doesn't matter too much unless you hit 2 directs, and then that changes the stacks, so he can put in a challenge on a good position.
Yeah, that's a really good play. And one important point to note as well at the moment is that all the health bubbles are up on the map. So if we do see an exchange, the player likely to be backing up onto something is going to be in the advantageous situation. But we've got the mega health coming up soon. Question is, where is Inns? You can see Xron just below that. Comes charging through to the red armor. Going to secure that for himself. And this actually should allow him to pick up the mega health as well. I'm surprised he didn't back onto that sooner, Xron. This is going to be difficult now for him to get anything. Just seems to want to push forward to deal the damage. But he will eventually, I'm sure, be able to get both. And he's not going to be able to make a cross to the mega.
So Inns is doing a really good job here, playing it really smart, and Mega's up on the spot now, and Xron left the Mega up to go for the pressure because he felt like, he could actually make some damage there. But it actually, look at what's happened. Because he did that, he allowed a situation where Inns could have better position whilst Xron's picking up that Mega, allowing Inns to get a lot of damage. And now look at this, Inns is able to turn the game around, all because Xron didn't take the Mega immediately, and he tried to pressure Inns off the yellow. So that's one of those spots where you can ask yourself, did Xron really need to do that? And it's a hard call in the moment, but we can see the implications were huge, and Inns has turned the game around. He's going to actually take the lead now, so really, really well played by him.
Yeah, this is going to be mega for him, and actually leaving it up in favour of coming to find the spawn frag, get the red armor as well. It's actually really good move from Inns. He is above the available threshold as well, so he could just jump across if he wants to. Xron's instead going to try and steal it away. That was a little bit too ballsy for my liking from Xron. And Inns knows exactly where he is off the spawn as well, so he knows that he's not going to have a yellow armor, and if he pushes through, at least hits a railgun, Xron is going to be absolutely screwed. Yeah, here we come. Really, I mean, Inns playing so smart at the moment.
And this is really the problem for Xron, is that his best chance, I feel like, to win the game was from the position that he had at the beginning, where he had the control, he had the situation where he didn't have to play, he didn't have to outsmart Inns. Wow, that was quite funny. But he didn't have to outsmart Inns, and that's really key for Xron to be in that position, because Inns, like I said at the start, I feel like he's more consistent. When he's in control, he's going to play the control a bit better. When he's out of control, he's going to play out of control a bit better. So Xron really needed the innate advantage of having the ability to just have more inefficient fights by having a bigger stack. But it seems to be now like he's under a lot of pressure, because 3.5 minutes to go, Inns is just constantly catching him out, still efficient damage, and Xron, what's he going to do? He's going to slow the game down, but it's just, there's very little time left.
The thing is, Inns is the one slowing the game down. Xron's just running. He's running. It's like what I mentioned earlier, DDK. Xron's jumping around the map, and Inns is being as quiet as a mouse. He always knows where Xron is, whether it's from seeing him across the map, dart past a corridor, or just hearing the jump sounds, or the bounce pad, or even a teleport. And again, Inns just walking around at this rocket launcher, just trying to surprise Xron. And Xron is going to have such a tough time trying to get past this.
Inns is in a really cool position because there's many ways to play it from his spot, because he's got so many options with the stack and so on, and all the item times and weapons. And he's deciding to allow Xron to have some stack, and basically putting it to a situation where Xron has to make the call of how to attack into Inns, and Inns just has to keep good positions. Of course, what we saw there was Inns actually getting the worst of the exchanges because he went for a bit of a poke. I feel like he betrayed his initial strategy where he was forcing Xron to do something desperate, and now Xron has a bit of a chance, but Inns just has to play defensive like he's doing now, and he'll be fine.
So be careful here though. Nice actually movement. I don't know if that was intentional to use the walls there to get out of sight, but yeah, really good movement from Inns. as he holds on to this lead. But I mean, 5 frags still come back. Could happen from Xron if he is able to get a clean frag. It's just a question of if he's going to be able to do it, because Inz is just playing the plus back game, really utilising the teleports. That could be a critical railgun. This has put Inz out in the open. Xron able to find the frag. He is still railable though, as Inz tries to back away. The shards are going to be so loud. Xron knows exactly where he is. You can hear him charging behind. But again, all Inz really needs to do is delay at this point, and it looks like he might have been successful. Oh, the group rocket is fantastic. Unfortunately, didn't quite bounce him under the doorway. And there comes the first frag, or another frag here for Xron after he killed himself earlier on.
So that was a really fun position from Inz. He was on the run, and that is such a classic spot that you're like, oh my god, I gotta run out of here. And he felt like he was doing the smart thing, but he should have stopped for just a moment to listen to the sounds. And if he'd done that, he'd be able to avoid that death, I feel like. But look at this, how the teleporter is able to defend. And Inz is someone who's shown us in this game a complete and utter understanding of how to use teleporters in every single way. And that was just another way to use them.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, he could just machine gun him and even if he needs a railgun, but there comes the flick 360 railgun. It's going to be 7-1. Shotgun comes out. Again, not going to be anywhere near enough. And, I mean, this is a comfortable win for Inz. Didn't really ever seem like he had a problem.
Yeah, definitely a good start for Xron that he wasn't able to capitalize on. And I really liked how intelligently Inz played from many of his positions on this map. We saw him at the start. He took things very slowly, out of control, and I think it was down to the fact that I think Xron hit an opening rail, got some opening damage, and that basically forced Inz out of control from the start. Inz, he embraced that, which is great, and he played it really slow, and he knew the spots where doing damage is pointless, because there are those spots where it's like you hit a rail and you expose yourself, so they can rail you, and if you hit that rail, does it have an implication on you taking an item? No. And Inz never messed it up. He never put himself in a spot where he was exposing himself unduly. And yeah, it was just honestly just smart play from Inz, I'd say, throughout the entire map. So very well played to him.
Just look at the iron pickups. Less yellows, less reds, less megas. Had one more green, and yeah, he was able to win 8-2 with more damage dealt. I mean, that pretty much tells the full story, I think. But I just want, before we go to a quick break, just to put it to you, DDK. Obviously, you've been casting a lot of Quake. Inz did the same. If you went back to play duel now, obviously Inz is kind of doing it competitively. Do you think you'd be a better player after casting all these games and watching all these different styles? Do you think you would have taken any of that into your own gameplay?
Yeah, it's undoubtedly so. It's something that when you're a player you don't put enough focus on, because watching and analyzing and stuff like that is great, but it can be really daunting, because if you don't do enough of it, it's hard to really spot the trends and patterns and figure out like what has value, what doesn't have value, and how to and then it's like quite difficult. Like you watch a demo. I remember doing this when I was a player, a long time ago, playing loads, and sometimes I'd watch my demos to try to learn, but I wouldn't know what to look at, and that would just get frustrating. So then you're just like, well, I'll just play more, and so you hit walls. But if you do get into the mode like Inz, and you're a caster and you're doing the analysis and stuff, it helps so much. It really does, and I would be a much better player if I put the time into playing now that I could back when I used to.
Yeah. Well, what we'll do is take a quick break, guys, here on the FACEIT community stream. We'll be right back, hopefully with a quarter-final. It might be Inz versus Cypher. I'd actually like to see Inz versus Cypher after watching that game, but Cypher is another level, or at least we think so. He's had a bit of a rocky few tournaments recently, I think many people will agree on. So we'll see, but either way, don't go too far, guys. We're going to take a quick break. Tell your friends we're here on the FACEIT community stream if you haven't already, and we'll see you back here for more Quake Live action from the Spring Cup number 4. Stay tuned.